Hi, it's just me for right now. Dracia is currently chasing a toddler and cleaning up shit. Literal, literal poop. I walk in and she's a mom to a toddler. I'm not anymore. So I'm eating a banana on her couch, living my best life. And she's bathing her tiniest child, trying to get it together. We'll be with you in just one moment. Thank you. Are you good?
Yep.
Perfect. Perfect.
Kim got here today and I straight up looked at her in the eyes and I said, I need about 10 to 15 minutes to get my life together right now, because this morning we were heading out the door to go to school and there was poop on my carpet.
And she ain't got no pets.
And I don't have pets. So I was like, somebody needs their butt washed and I'm going to clean up. I'm going to have to come back to this.
And I said, you know what? Been there. I've been there. Have I shit, unexpectedly? Yeah. We've all been there. Don't
I have not.
Oh. Okay. Anyway.
Hello, welcome back to the Relatable Women podcast. We just want to first off start by saying thank you so much for everybody who has been so supportive. We have had so many people reach out and comment and follow, and we're just beyond grateful and blessed that our first episode and that what we're doing and hoping to do with this is something that people want to be a part of. So again, thank you. We love you all, and we hope that you'll continue to support and follow and share. If you already are not subscribed to our YouTube channel, go ahead and click the subscribe button so that way you get notified every time we upload a new episode. Also, make sure to follow us on Instagram at Relatable Woman Podcast. We update, we post the most recent updates on our Instagram page. So you definitely want to make sure that you're following that. We would love for you guys to share every episode with a friend or family member, or share it to your story or your page, whatever it may be. And yeah, I guess we can not waste time. Get into it. Get right into it.
I have the mic way down here this time. So thank you for the feedback. There was a lot of people that were willing to give constructive feedback. And the thing about this podcast, Dracia and I just were let's start it. Start with where we are, with what we have, instead of overthinking it and trying to, get it perfect. Because if that's the case with our busy lives, we would just never start. We would just never actually get it going. So we're excited to have our second episode be out, and we're going to be talking specifically about certain things every time there's a new episode. And bear with us as we're working on our output and that kind of scheduling. So when we started this podcast, life was what it was, and then we started the podcast and life just hit us. So a lot of things have changed even since deciding to launch the podcast. And so we just had to be really intentional with how we're going about this. And so we apologize if we have said, the episode's going to drop on this day or this many times a month, and we can't stick quite to that. Just bear with us. It's going to be exciting. That's why we want you to subscribe so that you can be notified. And then if you, like she said, if you're following our Instagram, you'll get the most recent updates, the most accurate. So we're excited. We're excited, but
yeah, I guess, let's get right into the episode. I would love to start by, like Kim said, we have a lot of things going on behind the scenes, on our social medias. I'm personally a very private person. I don't share a whole lot, which is why I love that we started this, where I can be a little bit more open about my life. Kim, she's a little bit more open on her social media, so I know a lot of people know about her most recent situation. Just a little wrench that was thrown in her life. So I would love for her to just kind of talk about that, and we can, get into the episode. So do you want to update them about?
Yes. So life update. That's the thing too, is we just, so much in both of our lives has happened. And so it's crazy how life will life. And the point of this episode is that maybe you're listening and you're like, oh my gosh, relatable, no pun intended. We all don't have it together. All of us do not have, we might look like we have it together. We might, fake a smile every once in a while. But one thing I've always tried to be on my social media is vulnerable and honest and authentic. And if you followed me for a long time, that's something that I'm pretty consistent with, is like sharing my truth about just things. And we recorded our podcast that Friday. So the Friday before Valentine's Day. We launched our first podcast officially on Valentine's Day. But when we recorded it, it was like life for me had just started to feel, I mean, ask her, like, I just started to feel so much lighter, like financially, emotionally, spiritually. So everything started to feel a little bit lighter. Everything started to feel so much, a little bit easier, which felt amazing. I'm like, okay, things are starting to align. It's been a really hard and crazy, unexpected process, leaving my 12-year relationship and taking two kids with that and taking their feelings into account and moving into a new home. That was the hardest transition for especially my daughter. Like, moving was, so the thought of having two homes was so hard for my daughter. And Eric was a little more, like, ooh, this is kind of fun, this is kind of exciting, where my daughter was very like, I don't like this. I mean, the things that she said broke my heart. Like, the transition was just really tough for her. And so I knew that this was, I don't want to move. Like, that's trauma from my childhood. I moved all the time growing up with 8 siblings and a single mom. And it was like, that's one of the most traumatic parts of my childhood, is how many times I moved, how many times I switched schools and stuff like that. So having that routine and structure and stability for my kids was such a big deal. And so things started to feel lighter. Like, I'm used to my job. I love my job. My relationship with my boyfriend is amazing. My kids are adapting. Like, things just started to feel so much lighter. And even financially, like, I got through the holidays at my job, which was such a financial blessing. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to renew my lease. And then we recorded our first episode. And I was, even that, I'm like, oh my gosh, we're starting a podcast. Like, life is just seeming so much greater. And if you know anything about moving into a new home, it takes a while to settle in completely. Like, you're buying stuff for that house, you're making sure that you have all the things that you need, and just like physically settling in takes a while. So I was excited to renew my lease and give it at least another year, and like let my kids just enjoy that space. And since they had finally settled in, my daughter was adapting. Everything was just looking so much better. We recorded our episode and I went home and, changed for work, went to work, came home from work to a notice in my mailbox that was like, you need to go. Like, you need to get out of your house by the end of your lease date, which is March 31st. And it wasn't like an eviction, it was a possession of property. Like, we're taking back our property, and you need to move by March 31st. Now, this was, February like 7th that I found out. And it felt like I had literally, like, I walked into my door with food from my work. Like, and Friday nights are my first kid free night. So Friday nights are like special, sacred to me, because I come home and I like do me and I eat food and I just go to bed early and I get ready for the gym the next day. It means a lot to me. So like, I walked in Friday night to that and I couldn't eat. I felt like someone punched me in the gut. It was the worst feeling ever, because as a mom, and like, she can relate, like, and all of you moms listening can relate, when you're doing life, you're not just doing it for yourself. You are no longer just living for yourself. So everything that happens to you, it's happening to your kids. Like, it's not just about me anymore. It's not just about me. It's about me and my two kids. Everything that happens to me, I take them into consideration. When they're not around me, I'm still taking their feelings into consideration. Their hearts are always on my sleeve. Like, you have these two people in tow that rely on you every single day, all day, for all of their needs and wants. And so it felt like someone hit me in the stomach, punched me in the gut. It was the worst. I'm like, what am I going to do? Because I'm a single mom. I don't have there's no two incomes. It's just me. So I'm like, okay, now my first thoughts were like, I still got to pay rent on March 1st, but now I have to find somewhere to live, make a security deposit for that first month's rent. Just all the things went through my mind of like, this is going to cost me so much money, and I'm already doing it alone, and I'm just now starting to feel a little bit more secure financially. For this to like I'm feeling like a couple steps ahead, and this just knocked me back like 10. In that moment, I felt really, really, really defeated and really discouraged and so disappointed in myself. And it had nothing really to do with me. I've had a lot of issues in my current unit. So, like, I have had to have my property management do a lot of work to my house that the landlord was not happy about. So, I do know that, like, there are some things that come into play with wanting me to leave, I'm sure. And so, but in that moment, though, it felt I was sick. I mean, I couldn't sleep. I just, for like the first hour, I just felt so defeated and discouraged and disappointed and like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I mean, what literally am I going to do? Because I'm working on, you know, my credit and the things, my finances and stuff like that, being alone for the first time. And it's been an uphill battle. It's been this thing that that's a whole different thing. But knowing like I have to move, how am I gonna do this? Even Dracia was like, when I finally told Dracia, I mean, she was like, you can always stay in my basement. And I'm like, I don't, shouts out to you. Cause like, what a good friend. Thank God. I have 8 siblings, but none of them are here. So like, I don't have that support system that a lot of people have. And luckily I have incredible friends. And she was like, well, you can just, you know, if you have to move in my basement. I mean, it's like one of those things where I was just frantic. Like, how am I going to make this happen so quickly with not, I'm not doing this with anybody else. This is really hard. And so I got that news the same day that we recorded our first podcast. And I'm just like, okay. And that's when you have to recognize like the enemy will do it. Like the enemy will attack when he, and thank, you know, we can't wait to get into our stories of like how we found God and became Christians, but that's a different episode. But what I will say is like being a Christian, thank God for the mindset of like, oh, okay, I realize this is an attack. And what I need to do is put my trust in God and not worry. So, I mean, that night was horrible. I let myself have a moment. I like cried. Couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, and went to the gym the next day, like just defeated, like just, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And that Sunday was Super Bowl Sunday, and my boyfriend was having a huge like get together, and it was just really fun. And I felt like I couldn't even be present in the moment that entire weekend. It just sucked like the actual life out of me. And I remember telling Dracia even and my therapist, like one of the worst parts of moving and splitting from my ex and stuff like that was how much I did not feel present with my kids and with my life because so much was going on. Like, and mom or not, like you can relate to that. Like when there's so much on your plate, you can't even think straight. You can't even, so my kids will be talking. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I didn't hear anything you just said. Like, and that even started to feel better. I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel more present with the kids. And so this knocked me back so many notches. And I just was like, back to what felt like square one. But then God reminded me, like, no, not square one. You've made a lot of progress. You've done a lot of things. This is what I didn't realize. And now I see it is like, God was God was like, no, no, I have something way better in store for you. Just trust the process. And I've seen him work in my life over and over and over and over. And as Christians, as women of faith, like, but we still have doubts and fears and anxiety over things that are out of our control. When we know, like, God's got me, God will fix it, God will do it. And so, yeah, I had that moment. But then the next day and from there on, I was like, okay, Philippians 4:6, like, do not be anxious about anything, but pray about everything. Like, bring your thing, you know, bring your prayers and petitions to God. I'm not going to, I don't have the actual scripture like super memorized, but do not be anxious. Just pray about everything. Do not be anxious. Pray about everything. And I'm like, that's literally all I can do. That's literally all I have in me because I'm not operating in my own strength right now. I can't. And especially with just life has just been really it's been heavy. So like I'm really not able to put this on my back and carry it right now. So I had to like let it down. I had to like set the load down and give it to God. Like literally had to give it to God. And when I say I was so I mean I'm breaking out still from it. So like Dracia knows I have like my skin is really great. My skin is awesome. So
That was sarcasm, by the
sarcasm. My skin is horrible. So when I'm anxious and stressed, it gets much worse. It gets much, much worse. And I just started breaking out. Like I still am. And it's something that my body will be healing from for the next like year. But my skin started breaking out. I started to just feel horrible. And so I started praying. I started like diligently getting into my prayer app, like specifically praying over this. I love to write down my prayers. And I'm not kidding you. I posted about it on, when I first moved and split from my ex, I didn't share any of that with anybody. I didn't post it on social media. Like it was to a point where people are like, are you still with Joe? Are you still like, I did not share any of that. So like, I am very open on social media, but that I was really, really quiet about. I didn't post about moving, about, separating, none of that because I didn't feel like talking about it yet. So this time, this go around, like I give God praise for this too. This go around, I was able to be like, oh my gosh, look what's happening to me. So like I got a ton of people helping. I had a ton of people willing and able to give me referrals. And someone that I worked with for literally like 1 week, and then she had to quit because she had nerve damage in her legs. I worked with her for 1 week. And she was the person, one of the hundreds of people who commented and was like, I had a ton of like, I can help you. I have this available. Can you, tons of that. But one person, Carrie, was like, get a hold of this man. Like my other servers at my other restaurant, go through him sometimes. And I'm like, okay, didn't have any, I didn't think for 1 second he would even, I was not hopeful. I'm going to be real with you. I wasn't like, oh, I'm going to reach out to him and it's going to be great. No, I was like, at this point, I'm willing to do whatever. So I was calling everybody. But he was someone I called pretty quickly. Like, I remember she sent me his phone number and I called him and he was like, hey, Kim, I'm actually in my unit right now if you want to come take a look. And I'm like, I can't until tomorrow, but okay, cool. And, ooh, that sunshine. And so, no, I love it. But like, his name is Roland. He was like, if you want to look at it tomorrow, I'm like, okay, cool. So I go and look at it. And this old man, and that's what I was praying for, was I didn't want to be put into another property management position where I'm dealing with robots and emails and not seeing anybody. Like no one gave me a walkthrough of my home. No one called me to congratulate me. There was no human interaction when I moved into my place. Still, there's no human interaction. And so I prayed, I'm like, I want to deal with a person. I really want to deal with a person. And I went and looked at his house the next day. And I was like, oh my gosh, this would be a dream. It was bigger, had more bathrooms, it had bigger bedrooms. The whole living space in general is just bigger, has a fenced in backyard and a washer and dryer. And that has been the hardest part, I think, of living where I live now is the weekly trips to the laundromat. It's like the most daunting. I do it, but anyway, so a lot of things about this place was better, including like this man is standing here as a human talking to me. And he was like, I said, listen, my credit's not great. I'll be real with you. Like, my credit's not great. I'm not, he's like, okay, fill out the application. We would love to have you in this home. And I'm like, you don't even know me. Like, you don't even know me, what? And so I filled out the paper application knowing like he's not going to like my credit score. Like, he's not going to like it by myself. And I thought, man, I'm going to have to ask for a cosigner again. Like, this really, darn it. And then we went and took a second look at it because I gave him like what do you call that? Like a pre-security deposit. I was like, listen, I'm going to give you 500. Please, like, take me into consideration. And I filled out my application and I took my kids with me that time on purpose. Like, look at these cute babies. Like, I did do that. I'm like, come with me. They had a snow day or day off of school, whatever. And he was like, he made it so clear that like he wanted to help us. And he's like, we'd love to have you in here. And he looked right at my two kids and he was like, well, I'll leave the keys up here. Welcome home. And I'm like, I didn't even fill out the application yet. Wait, like you're getting my hopes up because hold on, like my credit score is not great. So, whoa, you just told my kids like, hold on, wait a minute. And I don't do that. I don't like tell my kids we're gonna get this home when I have no idea. Like I took them to look and to be excited about moving and to make them a part of the process because they weren't the first time I moved. And he was like, welcome home. And I was like, how can you wait a minute? So then I filled out the application and his assistant called me back the next day and was like, you're approved. And I'm like, I'm sorry, come again. Like and all I kept doing was praying. That's all I did. I prayed for the right people. I prayed for the right circumstances. I prayed for a freaking miracle because not me and my kids about to be in these streets. Like I mean in her basement. I wouldn't be in the streets, but like I have never had to do something like that where it's like, oh yeah, let me move my stuff temporarily and interrupt your home and her 3 kids. Like I didn't want to do any of that. So I'm like, I didn't want to. What I have, if I had to, sure. But like I did not for everyone involved. And so like to get that, I'm just like, God, won't you do it? Like, won't you do it? Like we can sit and doubt all day long. We can sit and be like, I don't think well, yeah, you can't. It's not half the time this shit ain't up to you. It's not, no, you can't, but he can. And so like relying not of my own strength, like I took my shit right off the table. I'm like, this ain't about me. Like I can't do it. No, I can't make something happen this quickly, but I know he can. So I'm gonna just let off the gas, quit worrying, because all that does is literally nothing. Worrying does literally nothing. And it's what the enemy wants you to do. He wants you to doubt, he wants you to be worried, he wants you to fail, he wants you to fall short and get in your way. And I'm just like, wow, I was so worried just to find somewhere better. God placed me somewhere better.
Yes.
Like
that is like that is a quote. Like so I'm pretty sure it came from the course that we took with Courtney.
Oh.
And this quote has stuck with me since then for years. And it's, if not this, something better. Mm-hmm. I say it in so many things. And as soon as Kim told me about her situation, I'm just like, that is the definition. If not this, something better. He's taking you from a place that you were living, having all of these issues, stress, complication. She would tell me that she wouldn't even feel comfortable to go home.
No.
Like, can you imagine? Like, taking you, he literally took you from that place. And yes, you felt stress, hopeless. Mm-hmm. You had no idea what was going to happen. And he said, watch this. Like, I have something even better for you.
He said, watch.
Really though, like that's who God is.
That, no, for real.
And that is the definition of God's character.
Literally.
Like, even when, like, this just popped in my brain, even when Moose and I were looking for houses, we kept putting in offers, we kept getting, denied or outbid. And it, of course, it's such a disappointing situation. And I kept telling him, if not this, something better. Mm-hmm. And like, God bless us with this beautiful home that we live in now. But that's the thing, is it's so hard when you are going through those valleys and those trials. Like, we have all been there. Everybody has a situation they can think of that as soon as that situation was thrown upon them, you feel sick to your stomach. Like, you want to bawl your eyes out. You literally just want to crawl in your bed, and you think to yourself, I genuinely don't know if I can get through this. Mm-hmm. And as humans, we can't by ourselves. Yes, take the time to,
process it.
Yes, process, go through all the emotions that you need to. But at the end of the day, like, God's got you. Yep. He always has, and he always will. And that's just his character, and it's so hard to see during those trials and valleys, what in the world, like, why would God do this to me? Yeah. And it's always for a reason. That's another thing I say. Everything happens for a reason. And whether it's to give you and bless you with something bigger and better, whether it's to build character, because whether you want to believe it or not, going through hard times, it does build character. It makes us stronger. It makes us more resilient. As soon as you get through that valley or that storm, you come out on the other side like, wow, I really got through that. So then the next time something comes along, you're like, well, God got me through that. I know I can get through this too by his power, will, and grace. So I think that's just so important. And also, like you said, all the people you had supporting you.
The way it lined up.
Yes.
I'm like, yes, angels. Mm-hmm. I worked with Carrie for 1 week.
Yes.
And I trained her. Mm-hmm. I trained her. Not, usually Dallas is our trainer, but she wasn't there like the first day. So I was like, okay. And she was the coolest, most laid back, easygoing. I was like, I can't wait to work with you. For her to just dip. Carrie was like, actually,
she
my
said,
legs
well, that was fun.
That was fun. Bye. And I'm like, damn, I liked her. And I remember, like, I even said to Chef Jenna, I'm like, oh man, like she's really struggling. For her to be the person, I'm like, thank you. I know that God, the way God will orchestrate things for you on your behalf, like that is who God is. And like she said in the moment, it's so easy just for a moment we slip up and we're like, God's already like, bro, I already knew. He's a God that's like, if you don't sit down and Austin, if you don't be quiet, if you don't be quiet, like if you don't, girl, listen. It's like a parent. We're like, Lucy might go to school one day. The other day, she went to school, and I knew she was missing her snow pants, and she was like, "Dang, I'm missing my snow pants," and I'm like, "Girl, it was so cold." And one thing about Lucy, Eric doesn't really care, but Lucy loves to play in the snow. Loves to play. She loves the outdoors. It don't matter if it's spring, summer, fall, winter. She's very much my outdoorsy, like loves to get in there. Like she likes to play in the snow. She likes to play in the dirt, in the sand. And I was like, oh, she's at school. Like, dang, I'm really not going to have my snow pants all day. Like that. Because I didn't tell her, I didn't know if I could go get them. I didn't know. I was like, I don't know if I have time. And they just showed up at her school. And she's like, sweet, I get to wear snow pants and play in the snow. Like that reminds me of like, we don't have a clue. She's at school not having no clue that I'm going to bring them to her. Am I going to have them? Am I like, no clue, but I delivered, and as a mom. And I think like, that is who God is too. Don't worry about it. I know you're worried about it. I know you have no idea. I know you don't know what's going to happen. I know you don't know the outcome. I know you don't know, but like I do. He knows our entire life. He knows exactly the trials and tribulations we're going to go through. And that's the thing. We're all going to go through them. Some suck more than others. That's for sure. But like I grew up there was 9 of us and a single mom. And I remember when this happened to me, I was like, okay, I don't want the struggle. I'm not saying like, oh, it's fine, I welcome it. I mentioned to my boyfriend when I was talking to him about it, I was like, if this was God's way of saying, I need you to get out, and I know you're not going to do it on your own, so let me give you that swift boot. If this was his way, that's all he had to say. He scared me. He didn't have to scare me like that. I was like, that's all you had to say. But if this is, because if this is like, God, if this is what you wanted, you could have just said that.
You couldn't have delivered it in a dream.
But that's the thing about me. I will, for convenience, I would have stayed. I would have, and I've had, oh my God, I've had issues with my house that now that I have somewhere better that I'm going to, I'm like, oh my gosh, thank God. The issues that I've had with my house are so bad that my landlord like fired the property management company that I originally started with. He fired them and hired a new one. And they're a mess. So anyway, I'm just like, God, you could have just said that, you didn't have to do all this.
Right. Like you gave Joseph dreams.
You gave Joseph dreams about me. And that's another person that I refer to is not Joseph, but Job. Like Job literally lost it all.
Yes. Like
all.
Mentally, physically, emotionally, like everything that could possibly happen to that man happened to that man.
Yep.
And another person from the Bible I always think about is David.
Ooh.
Like David was going through some hot mess. And granted, a lot of it he got himself into, but the fact that through every single moment of every trial and season that he was going through, he praised God. Like he gave God glory for that situation. And that is something, as I guess Christians, it's just so hard. It's definitely a learning process because it's so easy to praise God in the good times and the blessings, but it's those hard times that you really have to take a step back. And that's why it's so important to stay plugged in too.
Yeah.
Just like we charge our phones. Our phones are going to die if we don't charge them, when their battery gets low. We're the same way as humans. Yeah. God is that that's power source. Yeah. And, if you're not staying involved in his word, if you're not filling your mind with positive motivational podcasts, videos, reading surrounding yourself with a great group of people who are uplifting and encouraging instead of, they're being negative, complaining all the time. Truthfully, it makes a difference. I also think that is just something I love about being a woman so much is we can be just so intellectually powerful because regardless of what goes on, like we're gonna get stuff done.
Yeah. We don't have a choice. I actually made a TikTok. I just made a TikTok. It's in my drafts. I'm gonna share that with the world. But that's what I said. I'm like, isn't it crazy being a mom? Because shout out to the parents, but I'm like, I'm talking to the relatable women right here. Okay, like the way we will just like, I mean, I cried my tears. I had my moment. I said, okay, zip it up, like you and like no one's coming to save you. Well, okay, joking, but like humanly, no one's coming to save you. Like you will by the power of in His grace and His like, you are gonna make this happen. You have to make it happen. You have 2 kids relying on you to make this happen. And so I did, not just me, but like I did. And I do believe that we can live a life that is soft and safe and not stressful. I grew up in a very like, you never knew what was going to happen.
Laugh through the trauma. Laugh through the trauma.
Just laugh through it. My boss and friend got me a sticker that said, my trauma made me hilarious. Shout out. But my mom tried her best. Like, and so I thought to myself, okay, if my mom did it with 9 kids by herself, half the time in Texas, okay, by herself, literally by herself, I can do this. I can do this. And again, I'm not saying like, oh, so like, let me just live my whole life like that. No. I don't want that. I don't want the stress that comes with never knowing and not doing better than you were taught. I strive to do better than I was shown and taught. I think we all do. Yeah. I think we all do. I want my kids to do better than me, but I did know that like, okay, my mom has done this. My mom has gotten through this. My older sister has gotten through this. Like with 4 kids, I can do this. I'm not alone. I'm not the only. It's so easy to, when you're in that despair, to feel like ain't nobody else going through this shit. No, people are. They just don't talk about it. Or they don't, and that's okay. Or they don't share about it as openly as others might. Or they don't, maybe they have more of the financial income that, to help, or maybe they have family. Like all of us have such different dynamics, and it can be harder than for some other people. But I just couldn't believe how God was like, when I take away, trust me when I say I'm going to replace with bigger and better.
Well, and I think that's the thing is when we go through certain situations or, we decide to make a change in our life, like, is it going to be hard? Yes. That's the thing about people, I think, is especially this generation, nobody wants to deal with hard. Everybody wants an easy way out. They want that pat on the back. They want that like fluffiness. And that just is not how you get any kind of success. That's not how you build your character. It's going through hard things and having to work for something and knowing what it's like to struggle that brings so much power and confidence and maturity. And I think also that's why when you age in general, now that I'm getting to my 30s, I'm like, I just feel different. I feel wiser. I feel more mature.
Equipped.
Yes. More equipped. I can handle things better. I think about things differently. I'm more emotionally regulated.
Yeah. And I feel like seasons, like just the things you don't expect, and seasons come and seasons go, and like it's crazy. And you become wiser and better and more equipped to handle life's throwing things at you moments. Like the healing process alone, like we're really out here regulating our own nervous systems, figuring out why we're so triggered by past trauma while going through current life, while going through momming, while going like there's so much going on all the time that it's so important that we pour into ourselves with good people and God's word and stay plugged into those things. I'm so thankful that I can, when I am having moments of doubt and fear and anxiety, I can go, okay, wait. Like, hold those thoughts captive. Okay, they're real, like let them pass. Like hold them captive, let them pass, throw them away, and replace it with God's word. Replace it with truth, with scripture, because that is, and just like we can refer to stories in the Bible, that's why they're there. They're stories to remind us of like God's goodness, God's grace, God's help, God's like we're not alone in this. Mm-hmm. We're not alone in this. I am not the first person in the world to go through something heavy. I'm not. And the way he will lift you up is crazy. And the way he will lift you up through other people, other things. Like, I am so blessed to be surrounded by people who give a shit. And you need those people, because I'm by myself. I think I would have sank. I really do. But I had so many people around me going, it sucks, but you are going to get through this, and God has something way better in store for you. Mm-hmm. Derek C, Lindsay, they were all immediately looking for places for me. Des was looking for places for me. And I'm like, you guys are so sweet. Thank you. Like, just the amount of community that's like, we're behind you. We're behind you. You're going to be okay. Like, mm-hmm. God not only gives you what you need and equips you with the things you need spiritually, but he gives you the right people. He gives you the right, just everything. He's worked in my life so many times that I should have known that the outcome of this was going to be just fine. But it's hard when you're in it. And like our point is like, you're not alone. You're not alone. But that's our life up. Like, that happened. I got that news the same day we recorded our first podcast, which was something so exciting for us, something we have been wanting to do, something we finally committed to. And then the enemy was like, mm-hmm. oh, but wait a minute.
Let me snatch that joy really quick.
And I'm like, who do you think he is? Mm-hmm. You're nobody. Right. And you don't get to do that. You don't get to do that to me, because my God is bigger. Like, it's crazy how you'll be doing so great. You'll be doing so many great things, and the devil will come and try to. That's how you know you've got it going on. That's how you know. I know it doesn't seem like it, but that is how you know. Like, mm-hmm. when I left my, relationship and was like, I'm about to do life all by myself. Oh my gosh, I was so scared. Like, I was so scared, because I've never lived alone in my entire life, like, ever. So I'm like, oh my gosh, and I'm doing it with 2 kids. And I knew then, like, don't rely on your own strength. Do not rely on your own strength. Thank God you know God. Thank God you have that. But like, the way that he just kept showing up, I'm just like, what? I don't know. It's crazy. But
and I preach to people all the time. Community. Yeah. That's the only way that you, obviously God first, but community. Everybody needs a community. Yep. And I mean, not to bring it back full circle, but genuinely, that is why we created this podcast, because obviously I know that there are so many women and men too who are out there doing life alone, with mm-hmm. kids, without kids, and it's hard. It's hard when you don't have support. You don't feel like anybody around you understands. And that is why we built this Relatable Woman community, to let you know you're not alone in the things that you're going through. We all go through these hard times in life. And no matter what that looks like for you, you have support. You have people here who are willing and able to encourage you and lift you up and remind you, you got this. Yeah. And I appreciate you sharing your story, because I think it's just so important when we share stories and testimonies, because there is somebody out there who is going to hear that story, and it's going to really impact them or touch them in a way that they need right now, whatever situation they're in. And
it makes me feel less alone. Mm-hmm. Like, I posted about it, and the amount of people that even inboxed me and was like, Kim, I hope you know that I still go to your stories because you make me laugh on a hard day. And I'm like, you don't realize the amount of people watching you and praying for you, and like, you don't realize that until you share pieces of your story that you might not feel comfortable sharing, and then you do, and people are like, bro, amen, same. Mm-hmm. And then you don't feel so alone. And then when I posted about my, like, got a place to live, when I posted that, it blew up. Because people were like, I was cheering for you. Like, you are in the sweetest, like, you don't realize until you share, and you're vulnerable, and you're not alone. Like, you don't realize that until you do. And so that's been a huge blessing in itself, is realizing, like, wow, I really do got a lot of people who care, who really, like, genuinely are lifting me up in prayer, who are helping me, who are giving me resources. And it has meant the world being able to share about this time, because now look, and now I'm sitting back like, man, now I got to pack up all my stuff and I got to clean the new place because I'm crazy.
And that might not seem like a big deal to some people, but she's like crazy OCD.
I do. People don't believe it. I have like actual like obsessive compulsive disorder.
Right. I was like, I can come over and help you pack. She's like,
I said, that's not a good idea.
Yeah, no, I'm psycho, but you can come and help me clean the floors of the new house.
I would love you to help me clean. But that is the thing. Like, you'll get to know us throughout these. I have OCD. Like, real life, I can't stand when people say I am OCD. It's not a verb. I have OCD, and it can be crippling. It can be, intrusive thoughts are crazy. But I'm really lucky though. Like, I get to do this. That's why I reframe, my mindset, and your mindset is everything. But like, I reframe like, oh, I have to pack, I have to clean, no, I get to do all these things. I was praying for it. I was literally praying for it. And so now I get to do these things, and I get to have people who are willing and ready to help me. I have men, at least 5 of them lined up, that are like buff men that are like, just let us know when you need to move. And I'm like,
personal moving.
I have a
crew in her back pocket.
In my back pocket. We, like, what a blessing. I have everything I need. You have everything you need.
Yes.
Everything you need.
That part. You got everything you need inside of you. God has equipped us and blessed us with the mentality, the physicality, the emotionality.
All of that.
Yes, but you got to tap in. You got to be willing to tap in. Tap in.
This has been great, though. This has been great. We want to give you like a life update, but also encourage you throughout your week so that you can have a better week, hopefully.
Yes.
And know that you're not alone in anything. How can we pray for you?
Yes.
Leave a comment.
I was just about to say that. Oh my gosh.
The other day,
Besties.
We had the same thought.
Bessie's intuition. I was just about to say that. If you are going through something and you really just need prayer, you really need support, drop a comment if you feel comfortable, obviously, in the comments. We would love to be able to put some prayer over you, reach out, and you have a community also that is praying for you. So we love you guys so much.
We're going to have people to end this. We're going to have, either drop a comment or put it in our Instagram DMs. Like, we would love to pray for you. But we can't wait to have more people on. Like, just a sneak peek. Like, I can't wait to have my mom on. This is a single mom of 9 kids, like, full of just laughs and wisdom and life. And so that'll be exciting. We have people that have, that are holistic and have like a holistic approach to life and wellness. We have people that started their own podcast and want to talk. We have lots of people lined up and excited to share their stories with you. And that's what we're most excited about too, is getting to go back and forth with other relatable women. But y'all are awesome.
Yes.
Thanks for tuning into another episode.
And I just want to, I just want to say, we always encourage feedback and, suggestions about things that you guys want to hear us talk about. So don't be afraid to leave comments about that. DM us on Instagram. But love you so much. Thank you so much. Hope you all have a blessed day.